Hey there fellow crafters, my name is George and this is the Spare Time G, and today we're gonna make the winner of my previous poll, the famous carnivorous dinosaur from the Jurassic World second movie, the Carnotaurus. So Carnotaurus always was my favorite carnivorous and at the same time dinosaurs of all time. It really looks awesome. The name also sounds awesome. To be honest, it means Carnos, I think means flesh, and Taurus means the bull. So it was like flesh-eating bull-like creature due to, I suppose it is because of this two distinctive horns protruding from its skull. And I have decided to sculpt it due to this prehistoric poll I have made on my channel. As you can see, I'm starting the sculpting process by firstly making the body of the animal, which consists of large tail, neck and the overall torso of the dinosaur. At the same time, I'm also creating the legs, which are shaped from the steel wire. Be sure to reinforce this place as much as possible. As I found out later on, the amount of the steel wire was barely enough in order to sustain the firm form of the project and not bend under the weight of all the clay additions I had to attach to it, especially onto the torso and head part. Unfortunately, the tail is not dividing the legs into the middle, so it will be quite tough to balance everything out. As you can see, I'm starting the sculpting process by doing that, balancing each place. I'm like drawing an imaginary axis along the legs where the creature is standing on the ground and covering everything up with enough clay for it to balance out. Once you're done with the overall shape of it, then you can go through and emphasize the certain points. So once you have created the basic shape of the body for the dinosaur, you can then go into the hot glue section of your project and attach the base of the feet onto this plate of plastic from ice cream cap. Make sure that add as much hot glue as necessary for it to be firmly attached to it. At the same time, the hot glue will make the plastic sheet much more firmer, but of course later on you will need to add more clay onto it due to the necessity of the weight underneath the dinosaur, and at the same time the thickness of the clay also will determine how sturdy the base is going to be for the dinosaur, not to tilt over and just fall onto its face or maybe tail. Like the most famous carnivorous dinosaur in my opinion, which is T-Rex, the Carnotaurus had very tiny frontal limbs, tiny this, with 4 fingers on each side. So that's not really very important emphasis for the project, so I'm not even going to try and sculpt it until the very late stage of the project. Right now I'm trying to add as much of the flesh onto the project as possible. So the head part is quite significant for the creature. The distinctive like shape of the head, the roundness of it, and at the same time of course the horns of it create the distinctive shape and feel of the creature, which will be looking much more awesome if you put as much time in the creation of the head as possible. At the same time, I have decided not to really paint this guy, but instead to coat it up with already painted clay. If you have seen, the most prominent color on the creature is black/red, which is the color the creature was, the Carnotaurus was depicted in the Jurassic World 2. So in my opinion that color also looks the coolest, so I have decided to incorporate them. For the underbelly I'm going to still use some kind of yellow, which I'm not sure how natural it was, but in my opinion these 3 different colors will add more depth to the creature and like emphasize the places where the skin is thicker and the protection is of course higher. For the creation of teeth, this scale, to be honest, the whole idea of having this kind of larger scale instead of creating the tiny small part, the tiny small scale of the dinosaur, was that I wanted to emphasize the sharp teeth in its mouth. So the obvious thing is that I'm going to create the mouth opened up with all the teeth showing. So I have at the same time have decided to have this layered process of the tooth making. And the trick here is that onto this place right now, as you can see the unfinished clay part, you can add the teeth on the sideways without any kind of pressure to go inside the mouth and like firm it out and make it pointy after the damage you have already dealt if you are trying to put the teeth inside the mouth. So of course make sure that before adding teeth you have already created the inside portion of the mouth with the red covering also the tongue if you want the tongue to be showing. So the only thing which is left is to coat the surface of the base up quite neatly and nicely, and at the same time I have decided to have some kind of prop on the base which will enrich the project and at the same time make the look of the Carnotaurus more like vicious and prominent, so to say, and that prop is going to be the skeleton, more importantly the spine and the ribs of some kind of larger creature. So as you can see, the layering goes quite nicely. The only thing you need to avoid is the sharp turns and borders. You don't really need and want to have the sharp connection point between the red and black, or maybe red and yellow color. You need to go over with your finger and blend them together nicely to give it more like a natural look. And at the same time, the technique I have chosen, which is the carving the surface of it in order to make it more rugged. So after adding the famous yellow eye, at the same time using the tool, some kind of sharp nail for example, or needle, creating this tiny hole representing the pupil of the eye, giving the creature the vicious look, our project is done. I'm quite happy with it, and to be honest the spikes gave it even more cooler look than I was expecting them to have an effect onto the creature. It is quite time consuming for the spikes to be created, to be honest, and firstly if you want certain look you probably will have it better to go over with some kind of rubber tool, maybe a wooden tool, and create the holes initially and then put the spikes inside. That looks more natural onto the dinosaur surface as well. And yeah, in my opinion this is the great looking dinosaur. Maybe it was the second try of me and the first try of me really creating the actual creature which existed. The first one was the hybrid dinosaur in collaboration with Carnotaurus, and I will link that video up onto the card as well. Thanks a lot for watching and supporting my channel. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I enjoyed and am enjoying watching it on my desk. It was quite tough and fun at the same time, and would like to create more dinosaurs and would love to see your suggestions about them. Have a nice day and see you next time. Goodbye.